explain a little bit about the heart. The heart is made up of 4 chambers. You have 2 upper chambers, the right and left atrium, and you have 2 lower chambers, the right and left ventricle. We've actually have 3 systems basically in the heart: the mechanical, the pumping action, the electrical, which is the electrical current that enables the heart muscle to contract and relax, and the structural heart, the aspects that make up the structures of the heart. So, as well as the blood supply or the cardiovascular system that circulates the nutrient and oxygen-rich blood throughout the body so that our muscles and tissues can receive what they need. So on the heart, you have the coronary arteries. They actually lay on the surface of the heart. You've got the primary on the left side that comes down from the left main. It's called the left anterior descending, and it branches out and flips around and feeds the back side of the heart. And on the right, it's the main right coronary artery that comes down and branches out to the posterior side. So all of the heart muscle is receiving the oxygen and nutrient-rich blood that it needs. So the beauty of the heart muscle is that we don't have to think about it, right? It just contracts on its own. But how does it do that? Well, there is an electrical circuit. It starts in the right upper chamber, the right atrium, and it starts that current that feeds down the center of the heart and comes back around up the ventricles. And as that goes through the heart muscle, it what we call depolarizes and repolarizes, and it causes a succession of cell contractions so that the heart contracts in one unit. So inside the heart, you've got heart valves. So you can still see you've got the right and the left upper chamber, the right ventricle, the left ventricle. On the right side, you've got a valve called the tricuspid valve that allows the blood to flow into the right ventricle. Then there's a pulmonic valve where it goes up into the lungs. So it exchanges carbon dioxide and oxygen. So that's where the blood gets the oxygen. It comes back into the left side of the heart, goes down through the mitral valve into the left ventricle, and then it goes back up, if you can see here, into the aortic valve, up into the aorta, which is the main, like the great artery, and it's the main blood supply that then goes out in through the body. Okay, so you've got tricuspid valve, mitral valve, pulmonic valve where it goes into the lungs and comes back in oxygen rich, and then it goes up out the aorta and down into the body. So what can go wrong? Well, there can be different things. If a coronary artery is blocked by either a blood clot or a buildup of plaque, a plaque rupture, you can have a myocardial infarction or a heart attack. And there are different types depending on how long you go before it is an intervention is done to alleviate that blockage. You can experience damage to that area of the heart muscle, and that can be sometimes just short term where it will recover. It depends on the extent of it, or it can be more permanent where you actually lose some function of the heart muscle. So for example, if it comes down from the left side of the heart, you're going to get that anterior portion maybe down to the tip. On the right side of the heart, that would affect more the right ventricle or around to the back. And when the way the heart sits actually in your chest on the left side is kind of at a little bit of a tilt. So the right coronary artery kind of comes down and is above the stomach, and oftentimes a blockage there will present as nausea or indigestion or heartburn. So sometimes folks don't realize that they're actually having potentially a heart attack. So problems with the coronary arteries and coronary artery disease can damage the heart muscle and affect its ability to contract and relax well. And that is diagnosed with an echocardiogram where they look at how well the heart muscle is functioning. And they'll give you a reading called an ejection fraction. What is the fraction of blood that is squirted with each beat that the heart pumps? So a normal ejection fraction is 55 to 70%. So if you've experienced some heart muscle damage, you may have reduced function. It may be 40 to 45%, or if it's less than 35%, that's what we consider heart failure, meaning that the heart muscle can no longer pump as well as it's needed. Potentially that can improve, especially if you go through a cardiac rehab program and they use different medications and a low salt diet. There's various things, and I can talk about heart failure in another video down the road. So those are problems with the actual mechanical or heart pumping action. The other problems can be related to the electrical circuit, right? So if you experience some damage and part of that heart muscle tissue dies, that might be an area where that circuit goes through and it becomes blocked. And you can have varying degrees of blockage from 1st degree, 2nd degree to what we call 3rd degree heart block, which means that signal is no longer getting through and enabling that muscle to contract. And that's an emergency situation where you would need to have a pacemaker placed. So lastly, there are problems with the structures of the heart. The heart valves can become calcified. They can narrow because of that, what we call stenosis. And sometimes the leaflets no longer open and close well, such that blood leaks back or regurgitates into the prior chamber. So for example, if your tricuspid valve is no longer closing well and creating a seal when it's supposed to, some of the blood that goes into the ventricle is what we call regurgitated back into the atrium, and that can cause kind of a backup through your vascular system that presents with shortness of breath, presents with swelling in your legs and lower extremities. Likewise with aortic valve, the one here where the blood comes out of the ventricle on the left into the aorta and down into the body, aortic stenosis is a narrowing of that valve, and that can present as lightheadedness, dizziness, low blood pressure, because you can see that the blood that is supposed to pump out that great artery into your body is not able to get through and flow as well as it should. So there are varying treatments from valve repair to replacement that are done. Some now can be done through the groin and what we call a transfemoral access, or some are done via open heart surgery where they actually have to go through the chest wall. So that's just to give you an idea of the different systems of the heart and how they all work together. The mechanical or pumping action, the electrical that causes the origination of the heartbeat, and the structural heart. I hope that helps explain a little bit to give you a better idea of how the heart works. The most important thing is that we live a healthy lifestyle with high blood pressure, with diabetes, with being overweight. Those all put strain on the heart and can increase the heart muscle so that it doesn't pump as well. There are other causes for many things, but I hope that that helps you. If you have any questions about the heart, please feel free to put them in the comments. Please subscribe, as I love to give out information that's going to help you live a healthier, better life.